Sega Genesis just sorta never died in Russia? Around the world, different regions have completely different video game scenes. If you've only ever exposed yourself to, say, the North American or Japanese markets, there's a lot to learn. For example, the Sega Genesis and especially Master System were extremely popular over in Brazil. And because of that, the company Tectoy, with license from Sega, continues to release new models of them over there even today. This is mostly due to the differing economies of the regions. In Brazil, it's more likely the average consumer would buy an 8 or 16-bit console as opposed to a much more expensive modern one. Tectoy's consoles are completely licensed, but a majority of the consoles like these are unofficial. Over in Russia, the situation is very similar. The Den-O-Jah is a Taiwanese clone console based off of the Nintendo Famicom, which was very popular in Russia. Despite its popularity, it was completely unauthorized by Nintendo. With this console, it's how games like Samari came to popularity and found a market. The Den-O-Jah set the stage for unlicensed consoles in Russia. By 1994, over 3 million units of it had been sold. Jumping to modern times, the many bootleg Genesis or Mega Drive consoles are still moving units over there. And get this, there are teams that still develop new games for it, all completely unauthorized by Sega. Most of these new age Genesis classics are hacks of existing games with popular licenses plastered onto them. The game's already unlicensed, might as well go the full stop and use someone else's franchise too. What, you've never played Despicable Me 2 on the Sega Genesis? Now, who exactly makes these games? That's a bit of a mystery. The leading developer appears to be a company named BMB, possibly pronounced VMV, going by, Russian. They appear to be responsible for a majority of the iconic Russian Genesis bootleg games. They've made hits such as Shrek, Kung Fu Panda, Angry Birds in Russia, Ben 10, and many more. Their games range from fairly original games to ports to hacks that simply replace graphics. For example, it's rumored that Despicable Me game was made by them, and that game is a hack of the game Bubble and Squeak. Some of their most well-known games are, of course, Mario games. 2 in fact, Mario 3 Around the World and Mario 4 A Space Odyssey. These games were developed and released sometime around the early 2010s, and are about what you'd expect from bootleg Mario games. They're side-scrollers with very bad physics, the level design is basic but the graphics look nice, and the music is absolutely bangin'. The music used, much like everything else in the game, is stolen from various sources, mostly from programs used to create Genesis-compatible music. The developers probably saw that these song demos were already done and just used them in the game. There is a Mario song, but the rest are mostly demos and sample tracks, including the song you're hearing now, whose actual name is Space Standard, and was composed by an artist named Shuru, who actually created a program used to create Genesis music named TFM Music Maker. Many of the demos from this program, as well as one called VGM Music Maker, have shown up in BMB's games, so that makes sense. I understand why they stole these tracks though. They're great! Thank you, bootleggers, for making these more well-known. The music for each level is chosen randomly, and there's a pretty good variety. While the gameplay isn't great, the music honestly makes these a pretty good experience. Also, these aren't hacks of anything, they're original games. Well, I guess Mario 4 is a hack of Mario 3, but it's more like just a continuation. These are definitely some of the best Mario bootlegs for the Genesis. Which yeah, isn't saying too much when your competition is Super Mario World 64, but hey, that game has the Jeopardy theme as one of its level background songs, so that is some pretty steep competition. There are some weird aspects of these though. They have original stories told in their openings which are bizarre. Around the World just shows this strange Egyptian Mario when you start the game. And also, try to not die too often. Not only will you get sick of the death sound quickly, not only do you hear a stock sound effect of a man screaming when Mario falls down a pit, but if you die too many times, you'll be greeted to one of the most infamous parts of these games, their game over screens. In Mario 3, the continue screen shows the game over screen is a bit more tame, but the text when translated reads, "You failed to save the princess. Without the princess, the Mushroom Kingdom is doomed." Way to go, Mario! Mario 4's continue screen is really gruesome, showing a piranha plant bursting out of Mario's chest while a blooper suffocates him. If you foolishly choose to not continue, the game over screen shows Mario's skull with the text reading, "Mario died, and with him dead his hopes of saving the Mushroom Kingdom." You have to question the motives behind these games. They know kids are going to be playing them, right? The biggest market for bootleg games, just like for any bootleg industry, surely are parents buying a product for their kid. What happens when the kid can't beat this really hard game and sees this? And yeah, these games are very poorly made, so you will be dying and seeing these screens a lot. However, these are nothing compared to the game over screens of some of the team's other releases. Their Ben 10 game shows Ben with lots of cuts and blood, and their Felix the Cat game, I'm not sure I can even show that one. The artwork used for these are unsurprisingly stolen. With that said, if you already drew that art of Mario dead, you'll probably find some happiness in knowing that your artwork spooked some kids in Russia. What a world we live in. Now, Mario is Mr. Video after all, so unlicensed Mario games come by the dozen no matter what console you're looking at. We've got the famous ones like Kart Fighter, Mario 7. There are some less famous but still iconic ones, like this Kirby's Adventure pirate hack called Wario Land 2, which replaces Kirby with Wario, thus making it a perfect video game. Back in the day, there was this trend where bootleggers thought, hey, let's take this popular game from a recent console and demake it onto previous hardware. That idea is where Samari came from, and the same team that made that, Hummer Team, made this, Super Mario World, for the NES. Apart from the bootleg standards like poor physics and music, this is a surprisingly faithful port of the game. This has since become one of the most famous examples of bootleg games out there. Hummer Team were really cranking out bangers back in the day. This one showed up in 1995. Let's see, there's Super Mario 4 for the Game Boy, Mario DX for the Game Boy Advance, Mario 3 Special is one that's always on my mind. Man, if only Nintendo listened to their fans and put out what we really want. Then we have the modern equivalent of all of these, bootleg apps. There are so many of these, but I'd say out of all of them, my heart belongs to Crazy Miner. It's great to see that even today, with how advanced our world is, bootleg Mario games will always exist. People out there who create unlicensed Mario products out of pure love for the franchise. Take fan games for example. Super Mario Bros. X, Super Mario Crossover, the many outstanding hacks of various Mario games, these are all pure passion projects made by hardcore fans. But sometimes Nintendo doesn't see it that way. The company is very strict with how their characters are represented, and if they see it as just, they'll take action, even if